Tischler with us here on the Hoffman Show. Okay, back to the game on Sunday, Mitch. It's a 40-7 win against a team that is barely an NFL team at the moment, not very talented and banged up. What, if anything, do you take out of that game, which is obviously interesting because of just how well the defense did, nearly pitching a shutout, and the fact that the offense put up their 40 with, of course, I guess 33, 7 of that on the pick six, but 30-plus points with Marcus Mariota.
I mean, I take a lot away from it. I've been listening to, some other radio programs and some callers and on social media, folks kind of poo-pooing this win and being like, oh, Carolina was 1-5 heading into the game. They're terrible, all these different things. This is who the Washington Commanders have been. This is what the Washington football team was. This is what the Washington Redskins team was back in the day. These were bad teams that used to get beat up on by other teams, and other teams used to do this to them on a regular basis. Washington is showing the rest of the NFL kind of where they land in this echelon of teams. They might not be the Ravens yet. They might not be the Bills or the Chiefs or a team that you expect is going to win, could compete for a Super Bowl this season. But they're also showing you that they've taken a big step up as to who they are as a franchise. And part of that is beating up on bad teams. They beat up on the Panthers badly. They beat up on the Browns. All you can do is play the teams in front of you. And I think when you see a game like Sunday where despite losing their quarterback, which could have been easily, the air could have left the building and the team is woe is me because, Jaden got hurt in the first, quarter of a football game, but that wasn't the case. And not only did Marcus Mariota step up and play well and Cliff Kingsbury called a spectacular game offensively, the fact that the defense steps up as well and we're getting those turnovers and getting those stops and putting the offense in a position to be successful is a big step up for this team and for this organization. All you can do is play what's in front of you, and the fact that they keep beating up on these bad teams is impressive because for so long these are games that would be played close. The team might lose, the team might win, whatever it may happen. Right now, there's a bad team on the schedule. You can be confident that this team is going to step up and play well.
For sure. There is a professionalism to them that has never existed in the time that I've covered the team, I think in the time that you've covered the team. Dare I say in the time that John Keim has covered the team? Like, it has been a long, long time. I guess the only thing that I would follow up with, Mitch, then is to say, okay, there's still a skill level and a test level that if you try to project it forward is a little more convoluted. Ultimately, the professionalism is good, but how confident are you if Jaden doesn't play, which at this point on a Tuesday is very, very if. We'll know more tomorrow depending on how much he practices. But if Jaden were to be unable to go against Chicago, how confident are you that this offense can perform against a Chicago defense that is very, very good?
Yeah, I mean, obviously a much better test this week. Listen, after Marcus Mariota, after that first series, he was 0 for 3. He finished the game 18 of his last 20, 205 yards, 2 touchdowns, moved the ball effectively. And that was after they ran the ball in the first half for, 180-plus yards. It wasn't like they came out in the second half and, said, hey, we have our backup quarterback in, let's run the ball, let's get out of here and move it. They continue to throw the ball. They continue to press the gas, and I like to see that. And, obviously the Bears are a much tougher defense, but I do think that you'll see them be a little more balanced, especially, as the game moves on. They're going to run the ball with Brian Robinson a little bit more. I think Jeremy McNichols will see the ball. And the big thing is Marcus Mariota isn't the same dynamic player that Jaden Daniels is, but he's similar in the way that he runs the offense. And, left hand up for me. I didn't think Marcus Mariota was a good backup quarterback for this team because what we saw in the preseason and in training camp wasn't particularly strong. But to go out there and play the way they did against the Panthers and pick it right up and be able to, move that offense is impressive. And I think that it's going to be incumbent on what Cliff Kingsbury continues to do with this offense. I love, his play calling, his play design. From early in that game, you're seeing a coach who is sequencing his plays. The long run from Jaden Daniels, the one that I guess he ultimately got hurt on last week, they ran that same exact look, that same against play against the Ravens, except he handed it off to Eckler, who got 5-6 yards. That time he faked the handoff and obviously took it around the edge and had a lot of open space. I love when you see coaches and you can see the sequencing where they set up teams, not just in game, but week to week and and game to game, and you can show them, a certain eye candy 1 week and come back in 2, 3, 4 weeks from there and play off that same expectation that they've seen that play before. And Cliff's doing a really good job of doing that. And I think Marcus can step right in and continue to run this offense. And it might not be the same dynamic level that Jaden is, but at the same time, I think that Marcus can get the job done.
Yeah, the Ben Sinnott touchdown was the exact same kind of thing. They had set up that, zone read in the red zone, getting out on the edge with the arc blocking tight end, and then all of a sudden, instead of blocking, Sinnott slips into the corner, and you got an easy touchdown. So Cliff's doing a tremendous job. My one concern, and I feel like when I say concern, it's probably overstating it to an extent, but my one I wonder, if you will, is that was glorified 7-on-7. Carolina's pass rush was completely non-existent. And I do wonder if Marcus is under more pressure against the Bears, how that offense performs and how he performs. Because also, when you don't have any pressure, you don't have any negative plays. They're running the mess out of the ball. They're not going to do that as consistently. And so there just weren't hey, it's 2nd and 13 or 3rd and 9. We need you to ball here, and the blitz is going to be dialed up. He didn't have to face any of that, and that's just not realistic for NFL football. At least it's not supposed to be, but I guess Cliff has found ways to avoid it in multiple games this season, and we'll see.
Yeah, and you know what? And the offensive line has played well, and I was concerned when Marcus came in that, he was going to expose the offensive line a little bit because he's not quite the same athlete that Jaden is, and quite frankly, that wasn't the case. And part of it is a beat-up, bad Panthers D-line, linebacking core that they have there. But at the same time, there were no breakdowns. There were no misplay calls. There were no delay of games, penalties, these things that sometimes happen when backup quarterbacks come in. And so, I think it's okay to be optimistic here. And I think, to me, the one place where I am concerned with Marcus is just with his arm strength and his ability to get the ball to outside the numbers. But that's something that, his timing and his experience in getting the ball out early hopefully will help kind of counteract any lack of arm strength that he has. But, from what we've seen, I am confident that the offense is going to continue to move the football at a relatively good pace, whether it's Jaden or Marcus Mariota in there.
Mitch Tischler, co-host of the Beltway Football Podcast, with us here on the Hoffman Show. Last thing, of course, Mitchell, would be the defense. There's one drive where they're tested. It ends in a pick six. Ultimately, that's good. Is there anything that you took from this game on the defensive side, either of concern or of quelling concern? Because this Carolina offense coming into the week was actually pretty good with Andy Dalton. They had been fairly consistent, and Washington just absolutely dump trucked them. They get the game flow on their side early. But what do you take out of this game defensively that you think is relevant moving forward?
I think it was just a confidence builder for the most part. That's the biggest thing I take away from it. Certainly big for Emmanuel Forbes to get that interception. We're looking at 2 straight weeks here where Dante Fowler has been a big part of the pass rush and has made big plays. I think he's starting to, forgive the pun, turn the edge a little bit here. But to me, the biggest thing I look at is the run game because, without John Allen, there was concern that the interior of that defense was going to get beat up a little bit and, continued to give up big time yards on the ground. And Chuba Hubbard had done a pretty good job. He was averaging 5+ yards a carry, and he comes in and gets 17 carries and averages, 3 a pop, give or take. And I think you saw, the interior of that D-line step up. And I think a lot of it you have to give to Darian Mathis and John Dane. I think a lot of credit for what they've done. Johnny Newton as well. And I love, what Joe Witt has done with this D-line because you see him lining up with those 3 D linemen out there. And then your 4th guy is either Frankie Louvu or Dante Fowler coming around the edge. And I think the 3 big guys up there did a good job of stuffing up that offensive line and not giving them a ton of room to run around and opening up the lanes for those linebackers to step up and make plays in the run game.
Yeah, and I think Big Phil specifically deserves a ton of credit for how he's been able to hold the line. And just that's his job, is to eat blocks, and he's doing a tremendous job of it. And I think you see the difference when he's in there. Mitch Tischler, you can get much more from him and JP Finley on the Beltway Football Podcast, which is not only producing episodes basically every day during the season, but is live on the Monumental Sports app after each and every game. Mitchell, always a pleasure, sir. See you Sunday and talk to you next week.
Looking forward to it. Thanks so much for having me.
This is The Hoffman Show on the Team 980 and the Odyssey app.